You've spent years announcing your intentions. This is my year, you proclaim each January. You declare every plan publicly, seeking accountability, applause, or maybe just confirmation that your dreams are valid. Friends cheer, some roll their eyes, and you ride the wave of external energy for a while. But when the clapping fades, motivation follows. Your words float in the air, unanchored, and your plans often stall. One quiet morning, you realize that some of your most meaningful changes happened in silence. The time you quit sugar, you told no one. You simply stopped adding it to your coffee. The time you saved for a trip, you did it by quietly setting aside money each week without broadcasting it. The time you healed from heartbreak, you didn't post cryptic quotes. You walked daily, journaled, and let yourself cry. These changes took root because they were nurtured in private, away from the glare of expectations. You begin to suspect that the soil of silence is where your life upgrades flourish. You're at a gathering where everyone is sharing their latest projects. People exchange advice, praise, subtle competition. You listen, nod, and feel an impulse to join in, to share your own plan to switch careers, to start learning a language, to move to another city. You open your mouth, then close it. Instead of speaking, you take a sip of your drink and smile. The decision not to share feels strange, like suppressing a sneeze. On the way home, you wrestle with the urge to reveal. You realize that saying your dreams out loud gives you a temporary sense of accomplishment. It tricks your brain into believing you've taken a step. Keeping quiet keeps the energy contained, like steam building in a kettle. In silence, intentions transform into actions because there is no audience to satisfy but yourself. There is a power in working quietly, not out of secrecy or shame, but out of respect for the process. Think of seeds planted in darkness. They do not sprout in the sunlight of everyone's gaze. They germinate underground, in moisture and warmth, where roots can form without disturbance. You don't pull a seed out every day to check if it's growing. That would disturb its development. Similarly, certain life changes require time away from constant updates and feedback. When you commit to waking up early to write, no one needs to know. When you decide to meditate every night, the practice becomes more intimate when it is yours alone. Silence becomes a protective shell. It keeps your intention safe from premature judgment or praise. It allows you to form a relationship with your goal based on internal dialogue rather than external commentary. In silence, you also confront yourself more honestly. Without an audience, excuses fall away. You cannot hide behind other people's reactions. If you skip a workout, no one knows. The accountability is internal. You either do the thing or you don't. This can be challenging. It forces you to face your discipline, your patterns, your self-talk. Over time, this fosters integrity. You learn to honor your word to yourself, not because someone is watching, but because you are. When you do share later, if you choose to, the sharing comes from a place of accomplishment rather than aspiration. It is a celebration, not a plea for validation. Silence upgrades your life by conserving energy. Speaking about plans can dissipate the very energy needed to execute them. Praise from others can create a premature dopamine surge that satisfies your brain enough to reduce the drive to act. When you keep quiet, you build momentum. You work on your novel in the early hours without Instagram updates. You study a new subject at night without telling friends you're learning. The hours accumulate unnoticed until suddenly a skill emerges, a project completes, a habit forms. People might notice the result and remark, "I didn't know you were doing that." your response is a smile, because you know the work happened in silence, and the joy of that process is yours. This practice does not mean isolating yourself or rejecting support. It means being discerning about when to speak and when to stay silent. It is about understanding that not every intention is ready for exposure. Some need to be incubated. Others thrive on collaboration and should be shared. The key is listening inward. When you feel a rush to announce, pause. Ask yourself if sharing will support the intention or satiate an ego craving. Share deliberately with people who will nurture the seed rather than dig it up. Silence can also be strategic in interpersonal dynamics. When you reduce the noise around your life, you become less susceptible to outside opinions. Well-meaning friends might project their fears onto your plans. Naysayers might discourage you. Supporters might push you in directions that aren't aligned. By moving quietly, you give yourself space to discern your own path. When you eventually share, you do so when the roots are deep enough to withstand wind. You are not swayed by every comment. You stand firm because you have already done the work in solitude. As you practice upgrading your life in silence, you might notice that your external upgrades reflect internal shifts. Your home becomes more organized because you quietly declutter over weekends. Your body feels stronger because you commit to exercise without announcing it. Your finances improve because you budget privately. These upgrades radiate outward. People notice and ask your secret. You shrug and smile because there is no secret, only consistent, quiet effort. You realize that silence has become a companion, not a void. It holds your intentions, your progress, your failures. It is a space you return to daily, like a studio where creation happens. Eventually, you might choose to share your journey. When you do, your words carry weight. They are not empty declarations but testimonials. They inspire not because they are loud, but because they are grounded. You speak less often, but when you do, people listen. They sense that your voice is backed by action. This changes how you see yourself. You trust your ability to transform because you have evidence. You no longer need to tell the world what you're going to do. You simply do it. The satisfaction is quiet, deep, and enduring. At some point, you might sit quietly with someone who is struggling with the same impulse to declare. You tell them about your seeds in darkness, your mornings spent writing alone, your silent decisions. Their eyes widen, and you see recognition. Silence, you realize, is not just a personal tool, but a shared wisdom. It invites others to find their own quiet soil. You finish your coffee, the steam no longer visible, and feel a gratitude for the upgrades that have taken root. They feel more solid because they were nurtured away from the noise. You look at the life you've built in silence and realize it speaks for itself.